Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last session of the day. I hope you enjoyed GeeCON so far. And I want to start by, no, not by this, by asking you a question. I'm going to present to you this question, and don't worry, it's anonymous. You can scan this QR and enter your answers. So what is the worst comment you got in a PR or gave? I won't know. And you can connect and answer it. Don't be shy. Try to write in English and be as concise as possible. You can enter more than one word, so don't worry about it. Okay, let's see some answers. Looks legitimate to me. It's a good one. We could optimize it. Okay. Awful. Okay. I wonder if you got it or wrote it. Approved. Now I need a translation from Poland. What is kotuza? It's better not to translate it? Okay. So I learned something new in Polish. Okay. And let's ask another thing. Which quotation mark do you use? Single or double? Let's see what the standard is. I will show the QR again if you want to answer. Interesting. I gave this talk in Warsaw, and the majority was single there. So I wonder if it's a cultural difference between the two cities. I see. I come from JavaScript. I've been using Java way back. Oh, sorry, the monitor. Something happened to the monitor. Oi. It got excited with the double and single quotes. I have it. Yeah. I can put it over here if it's more better. Going once. Oh, okay. So we got, it's okay. Okay. The monitor got a little excited from the comments before. So today I'm going to talk about code review process and how to make it better. If you see these comments in a PR, you might not want to work with a person that writes those kind of things in the PR, right? So let's see how we can improve this code review process by learning some practices that you can apply in your everyday work. So effective code review can increase productivity, can increase delivery, can increase the quality of your code. So for example, what will happen if you will receive a PR with 100 file changes and this amount of line changes? I'm not sure what about you, but my reaction will be something like this, or even like this, right? And not to mention that for that many lines of code, you will probably do a lot of ping pong, not a fun one, but a ping pong in conversation, like change this, change that, and there are going to be a lot of comments, which will delay the development cycle even further, right? And with large changes comes great risk of introducing new bugs and breaking existing functionality. So to solve it, and another thing that can happen is that we might have another PR, which probably will be smaller, and if those PR are in the same code file, in the same files, we might get merge conflict if they are merged before our feature. So the one that created the PR will now be frustrated and look like this, right? So the solution is to break the task into mini subtasks, small changes, make it more manageable. There is a difference between receiving the previous PR and receiving the small PR with only 3 file changes and a little amount of line changes. It's much easier, so make it simple, make it appealing by breaking the task into smaller PR. It's better for you, it's better for the development lifecycle, and better for the reviewer. Another thing we can do is to give a context. Whenever we create a PR, explain what was the requirement, why it was introduced, why we needed it changed, what we did. And if it's a UI changes, you can include a before and after, just like in a diet. And you can even add, in the GitHub repository, you can add a pull request template. It will look something like this, which will align the entire team of a certain standard when creating a PR. You can align the team to include the link to the tickets, a little description of the change. You can add a checkbox to say if you added a unit test, which is really great to remind the team that it's better to use and add unit tests and tests like that. So it will be more efficient if you provide the fuller picture for your teammate. This is the preview, and when you create a PR, it will show, and the PR will look like this. So it's much more informative, right? And another thing we need to do is to set the rules and manage the expectation. What do I mean by that? We can, of course, set the rules of setting the PRs and assigning the PR to the entire group, or we can decide that we want to assign the PR to a specific person in the team. We need to specify it in advance so the entire team knows how to create a PR, what is best, how our team works. If you're assigning it to the entire team, you can set a rule that, for example, a PR can stay in the waiting list for, 5 hours or so, and not more than a day. You can specify rules like this in the GitHub, for example, and you can specify how many reviewers do you want to have in this code review. It's better to have a review. Some teams don't even have a pull request process, which is not that great. It might happen if we are working in a startup and we are the only person doing all the development, but in most of the time, it's really advisable to have another person check and review the code. So it will look like we can assign the different and rules, and as I mentioned earlier, the single and double quotes. We can add prettier to set some standard for the styling, which is good. And another thing we can do is to pull from the pool. There is some sort of methodology called Kanban. When a team takes one of the tasks from the to-do list, and whoever is available will take a new task from the board. So the same thing we can do with pull request. We can have a list of pull requests, and we can ask whoever is available to just pick one of the pull requests, assign him to her, assign it to himself, and just have the pull request reviewed. And of course, communication is key. Communicate to your team members in Slack or Teams. What do you use here in Poland? Slack, Teams? Okay, so write in the Teams channel that you have a PR ready. If you don't see that anyone assigning the PR to himself or herself, just ping someone for the team, the nicest person, of course, and ask them for a review. And be aware of the bystander effect. Anybody here knows what the bystander effect is? I'm not saying like because of the lightning, but it's a theory in psychology that claims that the largest amount of people present, the less is the likelihood that someone will offer help. So if you post a link to the PR in the Teams channel, maybe one of your colleagues that will think that another colleague is reviewing the PR. So you need to make sure that at least somebody is aware that there is PR, and maybe try approaching him or her like in a private channel, asking like, maybe you can check this, so it won't stay idle for so long because it will delay the development life cycle. And it's always good to get a second opinion, especially on risky features. Have a second opinion. It's also good for the team members to be familiar with the code. When we review our colleague codes, we are getting ourselves familiar with the new code base, the new feature. It's good because if somebody from our team or the entire team except us attends GeeCON, and suddenly, of course, Murphy laws, we have a bug in production, we want somebody else to cover our back and be able to fix the bug in production. So win-win. And in the recent years, everybody is talking about the work-life balance, right? We are working hybrid or remotely, etc. But what about the code review balance? In our everyday work, we need also to work on our feature, right? Not just do code reviews. But there is a thing about context switching that it might take up until 25 minutes to regain focus if we switch between tasks. So what we want to do is to schedule our PRs wisely. If we have half an hour in between meeting, and we already told that we are going to keep our PR short and minimum as possible, in this half an hour slot, we might do a PR rather than work on a new feature, because if we have only half an hour, it's better to invest it on something short, like a PR, instead of working on a big feature, only to be pulled out of it for another boring meeting. So keep that in mind. And consider availability. If we're doing code review for a colleague and the colleague is not available, for example, I am an evening person more than a morning person, so I focus better at the evening. So if I say, like, I do the PR's review at 7 p.m. and my colleague already left and I have a question about the PR, it's a bit problematic, right? So I want to do the PR whenever my colleagues are available, whether from home or from at the office. So consider this. And remember to be kind. We are working with each other. We want to build a good relationship. We want to be a good team member. So be kind. If you want to say your code is shitty, I hope I am allowed to say it. So remember that try to say it in a kind and respectful manners. I know that there are a lot of trolls in our industry, unfortunately, so keep in mind that there is another person behind the screen. It's always good to be kind to each other. For example, don't be like this. This is, I know it's a Java conference mainly, so this is in React. And I don't want to be a troll saying like, it looks like you didn't even understand how it works. I can use it and be more kind. I can explain what I mean. Especially for juniors developer, if I'm reviewing their code, I might take it as an opportunity to teach them and to make sure that they haven't missed anything. So this is, you don't need to read everything, but it's a bit more explanatory. I can add reference for them to read further information about the topic, and this way I'm improving their skills, their knowledge, and it's a win-win. Anybody wants to do a code review for the following line of code? What would you comment in this for this PR? Any volunteers? Okay, silence. Everybody are tired after this long day. So for example, you see here that I have a number, and it's useful not to use a magic number. It's always good to give a meaningful name so that when other people come and review the code, and even ourselves later on, do you know the feeling that you write code and then you get back to it later and then like, who wrote this shitty code? And then you do git blame and you find out that you wrote it just like a week ago. So do something better, write a better code, but be respectful, remind the people in a respectful way that they don't need to use magical numbers. And with great power comes great responsibility. We are in the cinema, so Spider-Man. You can use it, as I said, as a teaching opportunity. You can share knowledge in the comments about clean code, about best practices, about performance improvement, recommend a certain design pattern like singleton, etc., and more. So leverage your PR for professional growth. Now it works both ways, because when we review other people's code, we also learn from them the way they write code, the things that they use. It's not only for the one who wrote the code, it's also for us as reviewers. We can really learn from each other. So keep that in mind. And if you want a summary for everything I said, for those best practices, you can scan this QR. I've written a blog post about it that summarizes everything. And if you want to share practices that you're using at your work, you're more than welcome to share. If anybody wants to share one of the best practices, no, you're tired. But don't worry, we have an after party, so you can share it later over a beer. Maybe you will be more open to sharing. And keep on coding. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you enjoyed this talk and enjoyed the GeeCON so far. And thank you for attending this talk. Questions. Let's see if we have some questions. You have one question. What tools do you recommend for doing code review? Best if you can check out to IDE, follow, introduce new types, and clearly show changes. I know that in GitHub you can compare, for example, you have like a comparison between before and after. You can also say ignore spaces, because sometimes we have a different space styling and we don't want to see changes which are only spacing and stuff like that. And if somebody else has another tool for recommendation, anybody? So those are the ones that I know. Of course, when I can use WebStorm or something to see the changes, and that's it. Any other questions? Let's see. Yeah, sure.
Sorry. And about, for example, AI support. Could you share with us your opinion about use AI stuff, for example, Copilot or any kind of AI to help us to do code review and so on? Thanks so much.
So today we have several tools that leverage the AI power in order to automatically give feedback. What they do, they read a code, and basically based on some other codes, what they do, they suggest improvement for your own code, even without a peer review. Like, you don't need another person to review the code. Of course you do need, but In the initial step, the AI will go over your code and suggest improvement for your code as an initial step. Like it will say, maybe you should improve performance by using this instead of that. And there are tools that leverage this AI power in order to kind of help you improve while you wait for a review for your team or colleague. It's good, especially for in startup and things that you are we're run out of time, but it's good when you're the solo developer, so you get kind of a feedback and if you don't have anybody else to review your code. So it's really great. Thank you for your question. Thanks, everybody. I hope I will see you at the after party today. And have an amazing evening.